Hello friends, welcome back. Thanks for your overwhelming response and comments. Most of you had requested to make a complete DevOps CI/CD project from scratch for absolute beginners. So here I have come up with a project which will make you feel like a professional DevOps engineer who can independently write the automation code. You will see the complete flow from the scratch step by step. Let's see the setup first. Here is the complete diagram, complete flow. You can see here the developer and what setup we have to do here. We have to set off the GitHub, we have to set up the Jenkins for the continuous integration and continuous build. And for this Nexus repository, we need to keep the artifact generated by the Jenkins and place into the Nexus repository. And then we can use Ansible tool to do the configuration management and to the continuous deployment to different servers, right? So here, let's see in details. Here, from developer to GitHub, it will be the continuous development. So the developer will do the development part continuously without worrying about the building part, worrying about the delivery part and testing part. So he'll just focus on the quality of the code he's doing. So that part is the continuous development. So once he finishes his code, he has to put this code into the remote repository. You can use GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, whatever you have, right? Now, that is the continuous development. So the next one will be the continuous integration. Once the continuous development is completed, once the development is completed, the developer put the file into the remote repository, then it can be triggered by the GitHub to the Jenkins and it will happen. The continuous integration and continuous build will happen. The next, once the build is completed, it will be delivered to the Nexus repository. So that will be the continuous delivery part. So once the delivery of the artifact is done, we can use Ansible to download that artifact and deploy into the different environment. Could be test environment, QA environment, or production environment. So we can say it as continuous deployment, right? So if you see this complete diagram here, we have continuous development, continuous integration, continuous build, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So it's up to you how you have to like deliver your product or deploy your product by using different tools. As DevOps is a mindset, it's up to you how you want to integrate the tools in your entire project, right? So here we are using Ansible to do completely for a new server to do the configuration management as well as the continuous deployment. So before deploying, we need to do some configuration changes and do the deployment. If you have the server which is already all the required configurations is done, you need only to be deployed. So you can use easily Jenkins to deploy the product to that server. So it makes sure that all the required dependencies and all the configurations has done prior to that. If not, then you should go with Ansible to do the configuration management and continuous deployment. So let's write the pipeline script for the continuous build and delivery part. So I have logged into my GitHub account. So here I have a project called Login Web App. This is just a Java application. So it is entirely built in Java. And what we are going to do here we are going to write a pipeline script in the Jenkins file in order to do the entire automations. Okay. So I have few branches you could see here. So let's just select one of the branches called featured Nexus upload. Okay. So what we are going to do first, we are going to see first the pipeline for integration and build and the delivery part. Both for continuous build and continuous delivery, we are going to see it here. For the continuous delivery, we are going to use the Nexus repository to store the artifact, right? So I'll just tell you how we have to do all the entire setups. So first, you can see here, the entire project, this entire video sessions, I'll just use the GitHub. As you know that GitHub is a very good development tool, which you can use directly to write your code and commit it and save it in the repository directly itself here itself, right? So if I just maximize this code and let me just increase the font size. So you can see here, I have this pipeline and make sure this pipeline is being kept under this entire in this repository, and this is the project directory where I have kept this Jenkins file where the pom.xml will be available, right? So this is the Jenkins file, and if you see here in the Jenkins file, I have just written just pipeline here with the declarative pipeline, right? So here isn't any. I'm just going to use the tools Maven and Java 8. So the application is being built in Java 8. So Java 8 is required to compile and to build the entire application. So here, I believe that you should have some knowledge on doing the tool setup. If you have no ideas on how you to do, you're completely doing the scratch. I would request you to follow my other videos, which is entirely show you from the scratch how you can set up this Maven and Java and Git repository on your Jenkins configuration management, right? So I'll just give you the link in the description below, so you can just use that link. So here I have given few environment variables, which is nothing but the environment variable for the Nexus to be used. So here we have used the Nexus version, and Nexus version is the Nexus 3, and what kind of version of Nexus you are using, whether Nexus 3 or Nexus 2, based on that you have to use it. So Nexus protocol, I'm using HTTP, but in the organization it could be HTTPS. So be careful whatever protocol you are using. And the Nexus URL. So this Nexus URL is nothing but your Nexus, where your Nexus is installed, and that is the IP address. And you know this 8081, and 8081 is the default port of the Nexus. Okay, and make sure that 8081 is whitelisted under this IP address. After that, we have this Nexus repository. So you can see this login web app, and all these things. Okay. In my previous video, to on Nexus repository, right, upload the artifact to the Nexus repository. There, I have explained you from the scratch, from the starting from the Nexus installations, Nexus repository creations, and etc. So, if you want to start from there, I would suggest you just go to that video first and set up the Nexus repository. I have given the link in the description below, so you can get the link and just have look how you can set up the Nexus first, and then you have to work on this pipeline. Okay, so once you set up this Nexus repository and all, so if you just see here this Nexus, right, and I have logged in to the Nexus repository, and if you just see here, I have go to the repository, I have this login web app repository created. Similarly, you have to create a repository first, and then you have to set up this repository here and the credentials. Okay, Nexus credentials I have just provided here. Everything is explained in that video. Just follow that one. So artifact version. This artifact version, what I'm going to do, I'm not hard coded it here. I have not hard coded. So what I have done here, I have just given the build number, so that every time we build the Jenkins file, we build a job, it will create an artifact with a different version, different number, right? So the build number is the environment variable of the Jenkins level environment variable, which will give the build number of artifact version. So in the next stage here, this is the environment variable, and the stages we have just I have just kept the status as a checkout, which I'm just checking out this branch feature Nexus upload, and this is the URL login web app. This is the repository which project which I'm going to build it. So I'm using this Maven build, Maven tool to build the entire applications, right, entire package. So I'm using the command mbn package. It will package the code, the application code, right? And next one is the publish to Nexus here. So I'm just using the read Maven pom file, which will just read the pom.xml, right? What is the parameter? What are the details is given in this pom.xml? So it will just read all this group ID, artifact ID, right? Everything will be read by that code. So if I just pen it here, okay. Now if I just go to the Jenkins file again, so you can see here the artifact part, if that exists. Okay, just go through this. Just written to how filter it out the data from the pom.xml. So after that, I'm just using this Nexus artifact upload, this method to upload the artifacts generated by the build. So here Nexus version, this parameter, this variable is being passed, which is declared here, right? Nexus version, Nexus credentials ID, and artifact version, and everything. So you can see here, Nexus protocol URL, artifact, Nexus repository, credential ID, and this is artifact version, which we have created, and this is nothing but our build number, artifact version, right? So after that, what it does is just uploading this package into the Nexus repository. So this is what is being done in the Nexus repository part, right? So what can do here, as we have written the first part of Nexus, done the continuous integration, continuous build, and continuous delivery part, right? So the entire part we have written here, first build and deliver that to the Nexus. Let's see, first execute this particular job, first create the job and execute this pipeline script and see whether our package is getting uploaded to the repository on. So what we can do before that, let me just delete out this repository, because this repository was created and has lots of things there. Okay, so what I can do, I can delete this repository and I can create a fresh repository for you. Let me show you. I'll quickly go ahead. So create repository, go to Maven2 hosted, give a name, the same name what we have mentioned in the Jenkins file. Okay, login web of version policy, just select it as mixed and stripped, love storage default, right? And here deployment policy, allow redeploy, create repository. Okay, our repository is created, and fresh repository, it doesn't have anything inside it. Okay, so if I just go to the component sections, we have this repository, but it doesn't have no components found in the repository. Cool, so it's done now. Now let's go ahead and set up the Jenkins job. Okay, I have logged into my Jenkins server. Now let's go ahead and create new item. And here what we have to do, just give a name, like suppose I'll give login web of project, login web of project, and just give Ansible. Okay, Ansible project, something like this, and select this pipeline. Okay, and description, it's up to you what description you would give as per your project requirement. Let's go ahead and I'm not going to select all these triggering options. I'll show you later in the last sections how to trigger it automatically. Okay, for the time being, leave it. Now what you can do, just go to the pipeline script here and select pipeline script from source code management and provide the source code as Git and repository. As I'm going to build this particular login web app project, so what I need to get the URL, right, of this project. So get the URL, go here, put the URL here, and the credential, you will not ask for any credential as this is a public repository. Private, it will ask. Okay. Now let's select the branch which you want to build. For our case, I'm going to build this branch as Nexus upload, right? Feature Nexus upload. So select this one. I'll just select that feature/Nexus upload. So this is the branch we're going to build it. That's all. And Jenkins file. That's all. Save it. Okay. So now we have saved this Nexus upload or whatever the Jenkins file we wrote it, right? The Jenkins file. This is what is going to be executed. This is what is going to be executed. And make sure whatever URL you are providing it here, right? Same URL, the Nexus is running, right? So that's all. Now what we can do, we have created the job. Now let's click on this build now. So let's see the output here. Okay, we can see here it is checking it out and it's just building the package, right? It's just building the application. Good, it's built and generated the artifact, right? It's generated the, once build is success, you can see it has generated the artifact called as login web.py. After the artifact is generated, what we could see here, it has executed the build, it has executed to publish to Nexus, right? You can see here it has uploaded the file. Now let's go ahead and verify whether it has uploaded with the exact build number or not. So if I just go to the component, we are already there, just refresh it. right? See here, we have this login web app has created and the version 1. Number first build it has uploaded. So if I just click on this, I can see here this war file login web app slash -1.war, and this file has been uploaded into the Nexus. Now what we saw is into continuous build and continuous delivery has done, and we has delivered it to the Nexus repository, right? Now what we have to do, we have to write the playbook to download the artifact which is now uploaded into the Nexus repository and then deploy it to the respective server. So let's go ahead and write the playbook for the continuous deployment. I have just opened my GitHub account again, and here I have a project called Ansible demo project where I have kept this Ansible which need to be executed. Okay, so here if I just go ahead, I have two branches, 3 branches here. So I have just kept all these things under this feature Ansible Nexus. So if I just select it here, and what you can see here, I have just created a few folders over here, DB, Groovers, roles, and all. So I'm using the roles in order to implement and execute the playbooks based on the roles. Okay. So let me just explain you whatever is these things kept it here. So first, let me just go with this DB folder and let's explain you what is this. And here you could see here the Ansible the configuration file. Also, I have kept it here. You can keep this in your Ansible server. It's up to you how you can keep it. I have just kept it here so that I don't have to unnecessarily log into the Ansible server and update the Ansible. So directly I can edit the file whatever I want and save it and build the job. That will be done for me. Okay. Now what you can see here, ansible.cfg file is there. I have this host file also available here. Now let me just explain you what this DB folder contains. So this DB folder contains one SQL DOM file, which is nothing but a simple table creation statement, which will create the table as part of the playbook executions, right? It will create a database table on the DB server. Now what we can do here, you can see here there's another folder, this is called group_vars/all. So what up here, I have just created all the required variables. I have created all the required variables in order to use the database and work with the database. I have just given this a DB underscore name as DevOps class and DB user as Ranjit and DB password as this one. So here I have just added as a plain text, which is not a good idea to do that. You can use Ansible Vault in order to encrypt it as the time not permits. I'm not able to show you this Ansible Vault part here. I have a separate video on the Ansible Vault, how you can encrypt your password. I will also share those things, those links in the descriptions below. You can use that one. Okay. So here I have just kept these variable things, and I have another folder as roles. So here you can see we have 2 roles. One is the MySQL and the other one is the Tomcat. Let me first explain you the MySQL, and we have these handlers and metadata sections, handlers to handle the services, metadata section with the informations about the playbooks and all the applications what you're going to execute. So in the task folder, which contains our actual playbook, that should be named it as main.yaml, right? Main.yaml. So if I just go at this database part, database playbook on the task here. So what is very simple actually, things written. If you see it here, I'm using the few modules like get URL module to download this package, community MySQL package to this particular destinations, and then we are installing this community repo. And here I'm using this like error handling to ignore if it fails. It second times if you execute the playbook, it will fail because it will already installed and all. So just ignoring the error if we get an error from here. So this is most important, guys, handling errors in any programming language or any automations you are working on. After that, I'm just installing this MySQL server and then some yum module manager, right? Module package manager. And here I'm just using MySQL-Python Actually, this is required in order to just work on the MySQL DB module. Okay. So after that, what happens once this is installed, starting this MySQL server, and then what we are happy once you install the MySQL database, what happens there? It will create a test database first. So that test database we don't need. So I'm just the next step. I'm just deleting or removing the test database by using the MySQL DB MySQL underscore DB. So in order to work with this MySQL underscore DB, you should have installed this MySQL hyphen Python prior to that. Okay. Now, after that, what we are doing, we are just changing the root password. Okay, we are changing the root password. You can see here the variables, whatever we had declared in the group underscore var, and there all this db underscore user, db underscore password, the variable were declared, and those variables, those values are getting injected using the Jinja template over here, right? So using the Jinja template, it's getting injected. Now, what happens after the change root password is changed? We are going to create a database. So the database name, DB name, it will be DevOps class, which is mentioned in the bars file. Now, after that, I'm just copying the DOM file, which is kept under this DB folder. I showed you, right? This contains the table creation statement, which will keep the table after the database is created. So after that, what I'm just doing, copying this to this one. After that copying, I'm using this MySQL underscore DB module to import the statement. We import this particular things to the database. That's clear about this. Now let me show you about the UI part. So database, we are clear about the playbook toolkit. Now let's go ahead and focus on the Tomcat side, which we are going to use the Tomcat server to host our UI or to host our application, right? UI part. Now, what I'm going to do, so in this main.yaml, as this is a fresh server, we are going to deploy. Before that, we have to install some prerequisites, right? Like I showed you in the MySQL part. Similarly, for the Tomcat to host the application, right? We should have, as it is a Java application, it should have Java installed first. So I am using this built module, yum module package manager to install Java 1.8 and status present. I believe you guys would have some ideas how to write all these things. If you're not pretty sure on that, for absolute beginners, I would suggest you to follow my other videos on Ansible from the scratch, right? Where you can find. I'll also share all the links in the descriptions for the things you can go ahead and just have a look how to write this playbook. So here, the yum package module, you can just go to the modules and find it out how we can do that and write it, right name and present status present to install it, right? So let me show you one module so that it will be easy for you. Just go with to start with from the scratch, right? So here's the module link you can see here. Also, I'll share this link in the description, so you can go and find this module link as well. Okay. Now, what you can see here, we have this mode, and if I just go to the yum package manager, right, yum module, I just use this yum module, select this one, and here you could find lots of things over here. See, to remove worksheets, and what you have, we have this particular list name. Okay, what package you have to name a package, right? Which package you want to install or remove, and the state will have the state which whether it gives them these 5 states, the choices it provides. One will be the absent, which will be which will remove the application or remove the software which is already exist and installed. Or if you want to install it, you just can install the latest or present, right? You can just add it present to install any software or OS or any packages. All these details are also you can find the examples how to do that. So if you are totally a complete fresher and new to the Ansible, you can follow this module. Also, you can follow the videos I have in my channel. All the links also in the descriptions. Now, what we can do here, so let's move on to the site. Okay. So here I have the same thing, the package name, Java 8 and present. And similarly, I'm using the group module to create a group, and here using the user module to create user Tomcat and group, and here using get URL module to download the Tomcat particular 7 version from this Tomcat URL. Okay, after we download it, I'm using this command module to extract the tar file which is downloaded. After that, creating the symbolic link, then changing the ownership by using the file module. And again, this is required to change the ownership, right? I'm just changing the ownership of this particular path folder to Tomcat and Tomcat. So owner will be Tomcat and the roof will be Tomcat. Now, after that, the Tomcat is set of done. What you can do, we need to download the artifacts from the Nexus repository, which we saw in the delivery part. We delivered from Jenkins to the Nexus. Now, what we are doing, using this sketch URL module, we are getting this Jenkins URL. You have to provide this Nexus URL here. You have to provide the Nexus URL over here to and provide that path, the entire path of the WAR file. And here you could see here, I have just injected one extra variables called as words, which should be passed when we execute this playbook. This will be passed externally, the versions, okay? That will be taken care by the Jenkins. You don't have to worry at all. So this injected, and this is the WAR file and destination. After it downloads, it's just put in under OPT folder, okay, OPT directory. And then from the OPT directory, I'm just going to copy that to the Tomcat's web app folder where this particular file will get extracted and our applications will be deployed. So here is the part where we are deploying our application. Now you can see here I'm using this remote underscore source because this particular file is available on the host machine, in the remote machine, right? If you don't specify this particular remote underscore source, what will happen? This will search locally in the control machine, in the Ansible server, and then it will not find, it will throw error. So you have to specify because we have downloaded this one to our host machine, right? To where we are going to install everything. That we have created with here. Now what you can see here, after that, I'm just changing the mode ownership to Tomcat, I'm changing the permission 666. And then after that, I'm just starting the Tomcat server using this Catalina.ss in the sale module, right? So that's all about this Tomcat playbook. And we saw how it's been written to download and deploy the applications there. Also, we saw the MySQL part where we have to set up the database entirely, right? Now, what we can do, so our playbook is ready. Now, what we can do, let's write the pipeline script to execute the Ansible playbook from Jenkins. Now, let's go back to the application side, the Jenkins file. There we have to write the code for Ansible. So before that, before setting up this, okay, let me write it first here, edit, and I need to add one more stage. I need to add one more stage here. Suppose here we have one stage is published to Nexus repository, right? Delivery part is done. Now what you can do here, let me just add one more stage here, like stage, I'll quickly write it. So stage here, execute Ansible playbook, execute Ansible playbook continuous deployment, right? So here in this particular sections, we need to add the steps here. So under the steps, we have to add the required steps here. Okay. So before adding and writing this step, okay. So what I need actually, this particular steps needs to be executed on Ansible machine, right? So, okay, first let me write it, the steps, and then I'll show you how to do set up this agent here. Now, suppose what I need to execute the playbook, right? So I can write sh command here, sh, okay, with the 3 dashes or single dashes should be fine, 3 dashes, and then we have to write the Ansible playbook command, right? So just write Ansible, Ansible playbook, okay, and just give the playbook's name. So here in our case, it will be under roles and site roles site.yaml. Okay. So here what happens, I showed you there in the playbook that we are accepting one extra variable, right? So you have to pass this extra variable over here, like it was verge, right? Verge equal to, and here we have to pass the build number, right? Build equal to, pass the build number. So this build number is nothing but the environment variable of the Jenkins. So it will pass the build number of this particular build. So build number, based on that, it will just get that particular artifact and deploy it. Okay. Now we can see here, we have this particular build path. Now, what I need, you could see here, right? We have a particular repository created for this entire project, for this entire playbooks, whatever we have written, and it is kept under this particular branch, Ansible Nexus. So what we need this particular URL to be checked out, and there we have to execute the playbook, right? So what we have to do now, we have to write another section here. Under the same stage, what we can write, we can just write the let's copy this particular part. What we can do here, under these steps, let's write this part script. Okay, under this script snippet, what we have to do, we have to write and this particular branch. Let's clone it again, copy, go back here, just remove this particular part and put the URL, and our URL will be Ansible demo, which contains this playbooks, right? And this branch, so what is the branch name? The branch should be used as Ansible Nexus feature, Ansible Nexus. This is the branch which needs to be added. So I need to check out this particular branch. So it will be feature Ansible Nexus. Okay, feature Ansible Nexus. Let's verify it again. Yeah, feature Ansible Nexus. Now let's go ahead here. So I just use this particular script to check out to this particular workspace, and there we have to execute this code. So we have done almost everything. Now, what we need actually, this particular stage, I want to run on the Ansible machine, on the Ansible control machine. So Ansible machine, what we have to do, we have to set up the agent first, right? So let me go ahead here in the Jenkins. And if I just go to the dashboard and see, I have already the Ansible server agent created, the Ansible machine. Already I have set up the agent over here. So if you guys are not sure how to set up this agent, I have already a video created on how to set off agent in Jenkins. The same link I have also mentioned in the description, so you can get it there and just go and do the Jenkins setup, agent setup of your Ansible server in your Jenkins machine, Jenkins server. So once you do with the setup here, so you can just go here and check the configurations, and here the label name we have given as Ansible, right? So what we can do here, we can set up the agent here, agent. I want this particular stage to run on this particular agent, right? So agent, and give us the label. You can give it as Ansible. The label was given as Ansible, right? The name you can see here, the Ansible name, the configuration labels given as Ansible. So I have set up this agent, and which is need to be run under this particular Ansible machine, right? So all the part is covered now. I have written the Jenkins file in order to execute the playbook. So what this playbook will do, this playbook will deploy, execute the playbook and deploy the applications into the newly created server. So first, let's do some further changes. Let's commit this first. I've committed this code. So Jenkins file is ready now. Let's move on to the Ansible part. So if we go to this host, right, we need this particular host new server IP address. We need to add it here. right? Let's go to the server. So let's first create a server. Okay, let's first create a server on the same machine, same account. I'll quickly create one, and by the time I'm watching the video. Okay, so the server which I need to install everything and execute the playbook is ready now. Here is the IP address. Let's copy this one and go to this particular host file of this particular repository. Edit it and put the host number here. And here I've just created a group as LAMP server and alias created fin server, and this Ansible user as this is the Imagine Linux machine. So the Ansible user is to be used EC2 hyphen user. Okay. So as this is newly created machine and you need the key to be shared in order to get connected, right? So for that, what you have to do here, you need to add these things into the ansible.chg file. Under the ansible.chg file, you can see here the inventory part. First, let me explain you this ansible.chg. As I have put everything here in my repository, I have to little change this particular inventory in order to work. So here in this Linux machine is the Ubuntu machine, the Ansible machine where we have created the workspace, and this is the job name where the host file will be, this file will be downloaded and it will be added to server. So this is the inventory I have set it here. Similarly, if you just go down here, the roles path also where you have created this roles path also, you have to specify this particular and the roles, otherwise it will not work. It will always take the roles from here if you don't specify it. The default roles path is this one, right? So you have to specify which path you want to execute, and the interpreter Python 2 I've used here. And so if I just come down a little below here, I have just set up the private key file. So this private key file I have kept in my Ansible server, through which we can connect to the newly created server. So we don't need any user ID and password. So is this certificate, I can directly connect to the server and install the required stuffs as part of this Ansible playbook, right? So all these things you have to do all this setup in the ansible.ch. Now our playbook is ready. All the setups for this particular Ansible has been done. Also, same time we have written the Jenkins file, right? The pipeline script. Also, we have written the pipeline script. So almost everything now ready. Now let's go ahead and execute the job. We don't have to do any changes now because already everything there into this particular Ansible project file, right? This one. We already have everything set up now. Now let's just go ahead and build it. Let's see. And this part is running now. Let's go ahead. Second part. Good. Installing the Java as part of this Tomcat role. It's trying to install Java. Okay, it's now trying to install Java. Just wait for a few minutes and we'll see all the updates one after another. See, it just has created the group and user, it's downloaded Tomcat and extracted. So it's just working as expected, right? It is working as expected. So just hold on for a few seconds, it will complete. So you can see here, it has created the database, changed the root password, and it's completed successfully, right? So our application has completed successfully. Now, how we'll access the applications? So what we can do, let's get the IP address of that server and go to your browser. Paste it here, is 8080 / our application name is login web app, right? Hit enter. Okay, so here what we can see here, our application login web app is working perfectly. So what happened? The continuous integration, continuous build, delivery, and continuous development is successfully done. So it completely from the developer to the production, it has completely worked fine. So we can see here application is up and running. Our server is running. Now let's do some changes. Okay, before that, as we have done all the setups, now first, as this application is a database applications, which from the front end we can register ourselves and we can log in, right? So let me just try to register here, and you have to just give a name, suppose, put all the details. Okay, here. So submit it here. Okay. So now you can see here we have all the registration successfully done. Right now, if I just go to the logins, what happened here? Username. Just put the username, whatever we gave it here, at the password. Login. See, we can able to log into the application. Here it says welcome Ranjit. And if you want to register with some different user, right? Let me register one more user, suppose Kumar, and all these details. Okay. And suppose username is also Kumar, and submit here. So let's log in back with Kumar and password also Kumar. See, welcome Kumar. So our application is perfectly working. Now do some changes to the application and see whether it is immediately reflecting there and all automations were working perfectly or not. So before doing all the changes, let me set up here the GitHub webhook. So far what we are doing, we are manually triggering the job, right? Manually triggering the build. Now what we can do, we can set up a webhook. Let's set up the webhook to trigger Jenkins job automatically. So log into the uh, GitHub account, go to that applications, project repository, login webhook, and here you can see the settings part, right? Go to the settings and webhook, click on this webhook, and you can see here we have already one webhook available. So if you are going to create from the scratch, just hit add webhook here, and you can set up the webhook like so. If I just click edit here, you can see and use GitHub mobile. Okay, let me just it's a two-factor authentication is there, so I have to update my mobile applications and then approve it, right? So let's open my mobile application. Okay, now you can see here it's done. Now I need to add this payload URL. So this payload URL is nothing but our Jenkins URL. Okay, so we need this Jenkins URL to be there. So I can copy over here and go to your webhook part and just put it there. Okay, so let me type it here: jenkins.ranjitswine.com. So this is the payload URL, or this is the Jenkins URL. For your case, you can either put your IP address or your domain name here with the port. And this API, you must have to put it here like this: GitHub-webhook/. Okay. So once you do this one, just select adjust this everything, all the this event, send me everything. Okay. Update webhook. So I have just updated the webhook. If I just go to the recent deliveries, it says it's just failed. Okay, the recent delivery, it says it's just failed to connect to the host. Let's check why it is failed. It's an Nexus upload, and you can see here we have this is failed. Let's go to the request. We could not deliver this payload, failed to connect to the host. Okay, now let's redeliver it. Yes, redeliver this page. Okay. Now after redelivery, we could see here. I think this was which was pushed actually to the different server. That's why it's failed. Now after the setting up, we now redeliver. You could see here we successfully send the event. Now we have set up this event now. So what will happen? Any changes done by the development or any people, it will automatically trigger a job. So we have set up the webhook in the GitHub. Now what we have to do, we have to set up the trigger option here in the job. Let's go to the configure here. Okay. In the configure section, so we have to add this GitHub hook trigger. We have to select this build trigger option, GitHub hook trigger, and save. Okay, saved it. Now let's go ahead and do some further changes to the job, right? Let's go to the login web app and do some changes to the code. I'll go to the Nexus upload, go to the source web app. Let's edit something in this index.jsp again. This time let's give it as 1.9, right? So let's commit changes. Commit the changes. I have just committed the changes. Let's go to the here. See, we can see here the fourth build has automatically get triggered. Now we don't need, we can simply close the Jenkins server, because Jenkins server development does not have to look into the build purpose and all. So simply close this one. Okay. Now what you can do, so the Jenkins job will automatically just build everything. So only the developer has done some changes to their application side. So what will happen as the build part, it will build it, deliver it, and do the deployment. So if I just go here, the version we are given as 9, right? So let's refresh this. See, the application has done, the continuous deployment has been done successfully. So you saw from the scratch, from the beginning, how the build, continuous development, continuous build, continuous delivery, continuous deployment happens in that. Okay. Hope you understood clearly to set off the entire CI/CD process. If you have any doubt or any concerns, please do write me in the comment section below. I'll try to answer your queries. If you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do subscribe me so that you get notified when I add more such videos in my YouTube channel. Thank you.